Okay, one of the problems with an old webcam is trying to get this into the picture. If you look at it, you can see the basic format. You've got the 3 dials in the front. The 2 pyramids were a later addition. I actually have a crystal under each one of those. There's a crystal under the crest. They are wired. See if we can show you the interior. Okay, the interior isn't going to be too clear. You can see the plate and the potentiometers. There are also 8 magnets inside around the circumference of the circle. I put this thing on my head and look utterly ridiculous. You can't be dignified with this. I mean, you're going to look silly. Let me try and get in the picture here. Trying to get a sense of humor with this. If you don't have one, you had better acquire one because you're going to feel incredibly stupid otherwise. And by reaching up and grasping around and crashing into things, you can twiddle the dials. The dials act essentially the same as the tuning dials on a radionic box. They lock into the relationship between the operator and that which is being operated on. Now let me explain something about the rates to conclude this. In the old days, the really old days of radionics, they thought that the rate was something very special, very unique. It actually was a frequency, if you will, that the devices were being tuned to. It was literally like tuning a radio. And the old radionic devices were, in fact, in many cases, modified radio sets. The famous Hieronymus machine, which I will talk about in another video, if I ever get it made, was just that. A radio that was modified. Most of the old radionic devices were like that. And so the rate was literally a frequency to them. There was only one little problem. The machines worked if they weren't plugged in. Something very strange is going on here. The rate really isn't anything like that. The rate, the setting of those which is the setting of those dials, is the concretization, if you will, of the relationship between you, the operator, and the subject of your operation. Being expressed in the ratio of the internal circuitry of that dial. That's all it is. The wiring inside is another way of establishing that relationship. It is a link, if you will. It is not an electronic circuit as people presuppose, because they look at the first thing they think of is electronics. And of course in the old days that's what they thought it was. The original term for radionics was the electronic relations of Abrams, old Doc Abrams, who invented it. You don't need any of that. You just need the relationship. So one of the first things you need to do when you work with this stuff is take all of your old ideas about electronics, if you have any. In fact, I have more trouble with people who come out of an electronics background with this than anybody else, because they think, okay, what is the value in ohms of the potentiometers? Well, doesn't matter what the value in ohms is of the potentiometer. What matters is the relationship of that little circle inside the potentiometer as it is tuned to the entire circle of the potentiometer. That's why you can make these things out of cardboard cutouts and have them work. That's why you can make them out of drawings on a piece of paper and just put lines on and have it work. Anyway, this file is getting a little big, and like I say, this is the first one I've done. Hope it's of some help to you. You get to see what the great Uncle Chucky looks and sounds like. That may not be the best thing in the world. And with that, I will say adieu until the next one.